Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning after recap, Gator Bowl edition. Happy New Year. Happy New Year's Eve. I'm Greg Flamong for Irish Sports Daily. We're going to be talking about the game last night, or yesterday evening, afternoon, wherever wherever you were watching the game. For me, it was a 12:30 kick or 12:40 kick, I should say. So, thank you everyone for joining the show. This is our last morning after recap of the year, of the football year, and for the year, proper, right? Because it's New Year's Eve, and tomorrow is going to be 2023. So thank you everyone for joining. If you've never watched this show, if you've never watched our channel, if you didn't catch the post game instant reaction, you're going to want to check that out on the Irish Sports Daily YouTube channel. And so hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when we're going live. And just as a refresher, like, the portal is going to keep going, right? Notre Dame's going to keep trying to add to the roster and that sort of thing. There's going to be some additions. A lot of people think that Sam Hartman is going to announce for Notre Dame soon. We'll see if that comes to fruition, but you're going to want to check that out. So once again, if you're not subscribed yet, hit the like, hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on replay, thank you for tuning in. You're going to want to do the same. So, all right, let's get to some people in the chat. Notre Dame for life. Good morning, all. What a win for the Irish. Kev Scove says, yo, good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning. Tony Crapful says, top of the morning. Yes, top of the morning to you. Shanty Irishman with a good comment. Winter is a little less colder now. That's right. We got warmed up. It was a tough start, but look, man, it got turned around. So we got someone in Korea. It's going to turn to the new year in 27 minutes here in Korea. So happy New Year to Kevskov out in Korea. So that's cool. We have another. Sometimes we have another Korean viewer, so that's very fun. Rajan in the show. Thanks, Greg, for making the 22 season more enjoyable for me, all you guys. Absolutely. Thank you very much. That's a very nice comment. That's it. I mean, I'll talk about it at the end. I was going to do a whole thing about it. So, Rajan, thanks for always being in the show. Kev's Cove says, glad to start the year with the win. Lots to look forward to. Yeah, I think this game, we always talk about how a win in the bowl game can kind of springboard, like you feel like it's a momentum going into the next year. And I don't know how much that's true practically, but it certainly feels that way. And it feels like, there's, I guess every year that kind of works out, right? Like in 2014, Notre Dame won the Music City Bowl after kind of like a rough end to that year. And then 2015 was a good season, right? And I think the same thing happened in 2017 where, they lost 2 of the last 3 in 2017 to Miami and Stanford, and things were kind of down, right? And then they win that game, and then 2018, obviously undefeated regular season, and they go on to the playoffs. So, I mean, there's something to be said for the momentum gained by winning a game like this. And Chris Doherty with a good comment. That game encapsulated the highs and lows of Notre Dame fandom. I think it encapsulated the whole season, right? Like you go down 7-0 and then 21-7 on a fake field goal and then a pick six right after that. You go down 21-7. It's kind of like starting 0-2 against Ohio State and Marshall, and the team could have folded at that point, right? There were a couple different times where they could have folded, and they didn't. They kept at it. They kept at it. Ended up tying the game at 24. Go down 31-24. Tie the game. Take the lead. Lose the lead, right, on an inexplicable play. And not inexplicable from, like, look, you want to throw the ball, you want to throw the ball. But, like, it seemed like in that moment you want to keep running because you have the clock. You're gashing them. So that's one part of it. The other part, too, is you want to run because the clock is now working for you, right? You want to run it down. So even if you run 3 times and you get stopped, you have to kick a field goal. Like, that's not okay, but like because you're right there. But at the same time, like you go up 2 scores, it's probably going to run the clock down to like 5 minutes left in the game. You're in a really good spot, right? South Carolina hadn't really done anything on offense in the second half, so it was a crazy decision, right? Because if it throws it incomplete, the clock stops, right? And you don't want to bail them out like that. So that's what kind of like really made it kind of inexplicable. And obviously the pick six didn't. That was not a good thing. Matthew Peterson says it took him long enough to run the ball. Yeah, it did. It didn't look good. At halftime, it was not. They were not running the ball very well, and it was just kind of one of those things. Like if they don't figure this out, then they're probably going to end up losing. But they did. They figured it out. They made some key plays in the game. I thought the Logan Diggs play, 24-10, 75-yarder, go take it 24-17. I mean, those explosives, man, they could really help out. Like they just get you back in the game. So, yeah, Tommy had the one play call to try and prove how smart he was, and it backfired. Other than that, he called a great game. I don't know. I mean, like the play call, like sometimes you think you have something that's going to work, right? Like, hey, I'm going to call it and it's going to hit, right? And to be clear, like on the next drive, when they called the throwback to the tight end, that's another one of those plays. It's like, I have one, I know it's going to hit, and it's going to work out. And it did, right? Mitchell Evans is wide open. He walks in for the touchdown. So sometimes you take a chance. Look, even if a bad play call doesn't mean like just because he called a pass play, right, doesn't mean it's going to be a pick six, right? Like he probably thinks it's going to that's such an extreme outcome, so it's like a bad play call doesn't always lead to a touchdown for the defense, so oh no, Chris Jenkins has the flu. The bowl win made him feel 10 times better. Go Irish. Man, that's tough. The flu is tough this year. It's been a huge thing. Let's see. C-Mac says the game by Tyler Buckner and Tommy Rees last night showed two huge things. Buckner is unflappable, and this is what total command of offense looks like for Notre Dame. Buckner, man, I'll tell you that he battled his butt off, right? I mean, there are some things last night that kind of show where it's like where he has a tough time. Like he was 12 of 22 from a clean pocket yesterday. With 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, right? Out of a clean pocket. You can't be just north of 50% passer out of a clean pocket, right? Like Drew Pine wasn't. Drew Pine was much better with a clean pocket. Sam Hartman ends up being the quarterback. He's great out of a clean pocket, right? So if you get clean looks, like you need to be very efficient, right? And Tyler Buckner was not, and that's a problem for him, just kind of winning the job, right, against someone like Sam Hartman, who's going to he's going to deal, right? You give him clean looks, he's going to deal. So I think that's something that he has to work through. But Gamer, I mean, just so many things happen. Like he throws a pick six and they come back and they just drive right down the field and he makes some plays. He makes some plays on the running game. Good point by ND for life. Most passes to running backs out of the backfield all year, and that was a good situation where you had you had a lot of things turned on with Buckner that you didn't have with Pine because of the legs, because of the option for him to run the ball. They're looking at him a little bit more, and that's what's going on with Logan Diggs too, right? Like they're keyed in on the quarterback, flips the ball out. There's no one there. Let's see. Thoughts on the early game plan by South Carolina, despite the success. What were they doing? Didn't feel sustainable for over 60 minutes. Shannon Neely with that comment, and I think that's a very astute observation and something that we kind of discussed as well yesterday on. I think that was Jamie's point on the instant reaction last night. Like they did a lot of stuff. They did a lot of gadget stuff they hadn't really seen. Like they went really quick hurry up, which obviously has given Notre Dame problems in the past. But it's, they did those things and they caught Notre Dame out a couple of times. I mean, there was the one, right? So, I mean, they get South Carolina gets 21 points, non-offensive touchdowns, right? Like I'm going to count the fake field goal as a non-offensive touchdown, because it's not your regular offense. Like the punter is throwing it to the long snapper or whatever it is. So there's that, but they got Notre Dame on some gadget plays. They were doing a lot of things, switching quarterbacks. A lot of different things that they were throwing at Notre Dame. And it's a good point by Shannon. Like it didn't look like it didn't look like it was going to be sustainable. At some point, you have to be able to do stuff. Like you have to do regular things, regular offense. You can't get glitch and gadget the whole game for 60 minutes, like Shannon points out, and they weren't able to. Right, 100 yards for South Carolina's second half, 28 plays, 3.6 yards per play. Notre Dame figured them out, and South Carolina did not have an answer. So that was, the defense started rough, came through in the second half. Like they gave up 252 yards in the first half, 100 in the second half. So really good. Let's go to a comment from Chris Jenkins. With Tyler Buckner's performance last night, and if the rumors are true about Hartman, how do you see that battle playing out? I think Hartman would win it, right? It's because of just what I said. Like three turnovers in the game by Buckner, some poor decisions, some poor throws, and like I said, out of a clean pocket. Like you have to be able to deal when you are kept clean by the offensive line, right? And he didn't. Right, you're a 54 or 56% passer out of a clean pocket, 2 interceptions. Like you can't turn the ball over when it's clean. Right now, one of those is a tip ball. I understand, but the other one, and the first, it's a tip ball, but like he's throwing it to Mitchell Evans. He's completely covered. Like that ball is getting tipped up in the air by someone. So it's just, you can't do that, right? Like the turnover in the end zone on first down, you can't throw that. Like you just can't. It can't happen, right? So those are the types of things where it's like if you have a guy who's thrown 110 touchdowns, he's going to win the job, especially in the spring. I mean, in the spring and in camp, because you can't hit him and all those other things. He's going to, like the throw to Lindsey, Hartman might do that once or twice a game, not once a season, right? So that's kind of how I see it. I think he would easily win the job. And frankly, that would be good for Buckner, right? See how someone like Hartman handles his business. See how he sees the field. See how he kind of goes about reading defenses and developing plays and going through his reads and checks on a play. So I think that would be good for him. I hope he sticks. I have no reason to believe he's leaving, but I hope he sticks. I think that would be really good for him. Jason Warnock says South Carolina threw all their cards on the table in the first quarter. Definitely in the first half. So I think a lot of people made that observation. South Carolina had success early passing up the middle of the field. Why did they stop? Not that I'm complaining. I don't know. Sometimes you just feel like, okay, we did something once. We can't continue to do that. Like the slip screen to the tight end. That's something that works one time. Are you going to keep doing it? Right? You usually don't see it. Usually don't see that kind of over and over. So look, that's the thing with running, kind of gimmicky gadget offense. Like you do it once and it's great, but at some point you have to do something that's repeatable, and they weren't able to do that. So Steel Horseman says we should have beat him by 17. Definitely could have. I mean, look at the turnovers, right? Turnovers, pick sixes, all those other things, right? It hurts, so it hurts you. TD4ND, seeing Tyler Buckner in person, he is a tough dude. His throwing motion is awkward, even when he is not trying to sidearm it. I think that's true. Yeah, it is a little awkward, but he made some good throws yesterday. I put one on Twitter. You're gonna want to check it out. He on a 3rd and 12, rusher right in his face, sidearms it because if he throws over the top, it's gonna get batted down. Hits Jaden Thomas right in stride. It's a great throw, really good throw. Aaron Stack says knees in the portal, quarterback, safety, D line. I think that's right. I think they do need a safety. Although I mean, obviously, I love Xavier Watts. I thought he played another great game yesterday, and I thought Ramon Henderson. I think Ramon Henderson, he's too spotty tackling. He's got to be a better tackler. It's just there's too many times he's out in space and he's kind of missing. Right? He made a good tackle for loss yesterday, but I think PFF had him down for 3 missed tackles, which is it's a lot for the amount of opportunities he gets. And then D line too. I think they need someone on the edge Again, although Jordan Botelho stepped up, man, 2 sacks, 6 hurries, 20% pressure sack rate on the game. It's really good. It was a really good game for him. Let's see. Rajon says, do you think Tyler Buckner mistakes can be fixed with experience? Yes. Yeah. I mean, just maturity, I think, just being able to kind of decide, like, it's kind of unfortunate, right? Like that one interception on the flip to Thomas. Like, we've seen quarterbacks do that. Ian Book did that. Drew Pine had a couple underhand flips that those worked out. But it's just kind of it's just like knowing, right? Like knowing I can do that, or trying to fit a ball in, right? Like trying to make a play. He can do that. The other part with Buckner too is, and someone that I interact with a lot, Caden McFarland. He covers. He's a Notre Dame fan, but he covers Oklahoma sports. He pointed out yesterday to me, Buckner is a great design run quarterback, but not a good improvisation running quarterback, right? Never scrambled, like no third down conversions with his legs, as far as I can recall, right? Maybe there was a design call, but like not like on a improvisation, like I'm scrambling around and making a play with my legs, like that didn't happen, right? He's just not that kind of guy. So that's another thing. Like he kind of does need to add that to his arsenal, because if they're going to pressure, you got to make them pay, right? So Jason Warnock says Buckner would have 2 years after Hartman, correct? He can still redshirt. He did redshirt this year. This year is a redshirt year for him. He played in 3. So he is a redshirt freshman. He has 3 years left. So Hartman can play next year, and Buckner would have 2. And I said yesterday on the show, there is something to be said about a Notre Dame quarterback hanging in there, waiting his turn, and getting the opportunity. Happened for Book, happened for Tommy Reese. It was going to happen for Malik Zaire. Then he broke his ankle. Then it ended up happening for Deshaun Kaiser, right, who was going to leave the program, and then just kind of fell into the starting quarterback role. And obviously he took that and ran with it. So there's just something to be said. Like, just stick around, hang around, and you'll get your shot. So let's look at Patrick Terry. The difference in sideline behavior by each coach was pretty shocking. I think Beamer's tantrum was very deflating for South Carolina going into halftime. Yeah, I thought at the time, maybe you're trying to defend your player, but you really took him out of field goal range, like, or a chance to, like, threaten to kick a field goal. I mean, it was a scoring opportunity. I mean, they were right around the 40. It takes them all the way back. Like, that hurt them. He hurt his team. I mean, that's just true, right? And not just that, he hurt his team and he was wrong, because it's a blindside block. Like, you watch it back. What is there to say? You can't see him. The head is turned and he lights him up. You can't do it. It's illegal. I don't know. There's nothing to get mad about. I don't know what he's so upset about. He's wrong, and he hurt his team. He got a penalty arguing something that he was not right about. So that didn't help. I mean, frankly, I thought Freeman was a little out of sorts in the beginning, right? Like, every bad thing that happened, like, he was very clearly pissed off, which I guess is fine, right? It didn't affect the team, obviously. So I just don't understand Beamer getting so upset about things that he's wrong about. You're wrong. Like, the thing at the end of the game, like, Justin Malola hits the quarterback, is laying on him, but he's watching, like, where's the ball going? And they come over and throw him off. Like, the ball's incomplete. The ball's out of bounds. So you don't have to, there's no hurry up. The clock has stopped. There's no reason to be running around. And then they're throwing him off like he's trying to hurt the quarterback or something. And Notre Dame had just gotten called for that when the guy was on Jalen Sneed, and Jalen Sneed did something to get him off him. He got a penalty too. So it's like, you liked it the one way, but obviously don't like it the other way. I don't know. They lost of composure. Beamer lost his composure, and then his team did. And that's indicative, right? CMAC says Tyler Buckner is not staying at Notre Dame to watch a 6-year quarterback play over him after what Kelly put him through his freshman year. I don't care if his sister is going to Notre Dame. He's nuts. I disagree. I mean, first of all, he's an early enrollee. If he stays one more year, he'll get his degree and then move on. If he wants to move on, then he has 2 years. But why would you move on when the quarterback position is opening, right? It's like 6-year quarterback. I get it, but he's throwing 110 touchdowns. It's not like, see, if it was Hudson Card, it would be different. Because now it's like he's done nothing and he has 2 years left. So now I got to wait for 2. So that's different. But we know it's 1 year for Hartman. And look, what if Hartman gets hurt? Then it's Buckner's job again. That's what I mean. You hang in there, right? Like why would Ian Book stay when you have Brandon Wimbush in front of you, right? For 3 years. But you hang in there, the job becomes yours. You take it and you run with it. Most wins in the history of the program. So that's kind of how I see it. Like I just think you hang in there, get the degree, then move on. You have multiple years to go from there. Yeah. Did he thank the refs for that chalk kicking touchdown he was gifted? The chalk comes up. I don't understand. He hits the foot. There's white that comes up. There's only one way that happens. And I think there was a divot there too. Like, so to me, like, I understand there's no clean look and they don't want to rely on the chalk coming up, right? I understand. I kind of get it. To me, it's like one of those things. The ref is right there. Look, if he thought he was in, he thought he was in. What are you going to say? But it wasn't a great replay. And you know, the replay was blurry. I mean, it's like the guy said, like he's the Matt Austin, the expert in the booth. Like he said, like, I didn't think his foot was that close. I don't really see anything. Like, I don't know that they mentioned the paint coming up, the white paint, but whatever. I mean, look, it was a hell of a catch. So I guess give him credit for that. So yeah, that was that was unfortunate. It looked like he was out, but whatever, it's fine. Okay. So dumbest South Carolina penalty was when they let 2 guys with the same number on the field at the same time. Okay. So here's something that I don't understand. So they have a slot receiver who wears number 5, right? I don't know if he was on the field during the play when they allowed Birch to come on the field. To me, you can't have 2 different players. Like if you're a defender wearing number 5 and there's an offensive player who wears number 5, you can't play those guys on offense, even if they're not on the field at the same time. You can't have 2 number 5s playing offense and defense, like playing on offense. Like that's clearly like deception, right? Oh, here's number 5. He's running in. Oh, here's another number 5. He's running. Like you can't have 2 number 5s to play offense. If you're going to have people of the same number, one has to play offense, one has to play defense, in my opinion. I don't even, is that even a rule? I don't even know. Right. So maybe if someone knows, you can help me out. Cause I don't understand how that works. Michael Parks says white chalk did fly. White chalk was in the air. Everyone see it. Everyone sees it. Did Stenchcombe go to South Carolina? No, he went to Georgia. And I'll say this for him. They were praising Tyler Buckner yesterday. They gave him a good amount of praise. So I don't know. I after a while I turned the volume low because the South Carolina fans were really loud and I didn't want to hear it. It was making me upset. So yeah. I mean, so Chris Jenkins puts up white chalk. Like that was like it's the old John McEnroe meme, you know. You cannot be serious. Chalk flies up, you know. Everyone in the whole stadium, right? So I don't know. It's it was on the line. So all right, so there's that. All right, so I want to talk about I guess the season a little bit in terms of kind of the overall, like I said on this post-game show yesterday, I thought it was a useful year. I don't know if it was a good year, right? You go 9-4, you're 8-4, you lose to Marshall, you lose to Stanford. Like, that's objectively not good, right? That's not good. But you beat Clemson. And to me, it doesn't even matter what Clemson ended up being. At the time, it was a huge win, right? It was a great, great day. You beat Clemson, and you beat North Carolina, when at the time it didn't look good. They were 1-2, like necessary win. Drew Pine out-duels Drake May. Whoever would have thought it. You go to Vegas, you beat BYU and Jaron Hall. He ended up not having a great year. But the point is, it's like at the time it felt important. And this game, in a way, feels important, right? Obviously, you're missing players and you're doing all that. You're missing players and you do all those other things. And that hurts. They found a way to win the game. They found a way to win the game when it looked like they didn't come out playing gangbusters. It wasn't smoke and mirrors. It wasn't pick sixes, and it wasn't a special teams touchdown, right? Is just 100% earned. They're plus 200 on the game, right? The 556 total yards to 352, 7 yards per play versus 4.9. Just kind of took over the game there, right? Clearly the better team over the course of the game. Now, in being the better team, you do have to score the more points, right? You do. And so it's like, it's not enough, obviously, to just be better. You have to win. And they did. They found a way to win after it looked like they were going to blow it. They had come back. They had taken the lead. Looked like they were going to completely blow the game. Just another game that we're going to look back on and just be like, oh my gosh, like Michigan 2011. Like, that's how I felt. With the pick six like that, I thought, that's Michigan 2011 right there. I'm going to lose my mind. And then you get the ball, go right down the field, drain clock, and then hit the touchdown, and then you seal it off on the defense. Like, I just thought that was a great capper on the season for something that I think that Marcus Freeman can kind of take and build off of going into next year, right? In terms of his own, like, this is how you manage a team, right? This is how you manage the program. And so I just think there was so much that Marcus Freeman could take from this year, not just on the field, but then like recruiting wise too, how you sell the program. And look, if they get Sam Hartman, there must be something. Sam Hartman can go a lot of places, right? He can go a lot of places. Very much in demand player. If he ends up at Notre Dame, like, that's a good job. All right, I'm gonna hit some more comments. Jim Ferrer says it was the same Seahawks versus New England's Pat goal line interception Super Bowl. Yeah, except it was returned for touchdown. Man, that was crazy. I was looking at some stuff. My kids were kind of messing around at that point. I stepped out of the room for a second, came back in, and I see him intercept it, and I just screamed out, "No! Like, what do you do? Like, what's going on?" Right? So I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Craig D popping in. Good morning, Irish fans. Solid win. Absolutely. I think it was solid win. Michael Park says Marcus Freeman and his first year went 4-2 against ranked teams. That was only the 5th time since Lou Holtz. Yeah. I mean, look, they beat some good teams. No other way to see it. No other way to see it. Ray John says, did Burnham play? Let's check. Let's check. Snap counts. He might have played special teams. That's possible. I don't see him on the thing. Let me check special teams. What? There's no special teams report on PFF. Brutal. All right, so he didn't play defensive snaps. He might have played special teams, but he didn't play defensive snaps. So that's what I got for you, Rajon, on the Josh Burnham situation. Oh, Dan Adams. Here we go. Mentorship just renewed. Looking forward to 2023 with ISD. All right. Dan Adams. Subscribing to IR Sports Daily. And if any of you are watching, and you feel so inclined, please do. Please do. And also hit the subscribe button to this channel. That's free. Free to do. Free to hit the subscribe button. Free to hit the like button. Very free to hit the notification bell so you know we're going live. All right. Chris Jenkins, with how it started, I'd say it was a good season, but Freeman set a bar with 9 wins as a first-year head coach. Now, anything less going forward is going to be considered unacceptable to most. It should be considered unacceptable to him. I mean, I think there's a lot to learn from, and the circumstances of the year are what they are. If Notre Dame should not go 8-4 in the regular season next year, especially if you get Hartman. Now, first of all, even if you don't, your quarterback, you need to figure that out. Given just you have portal options, you have Tyler Buckner, you have Steve Angeli, you have Kenny Menchie. I wouldn't include him in that, just because it's not reasonable to expect that he's going to be a playoff caliber quarterback. But that's got to get figured out, and I think it will get figured out. But you have the receivers now, you have all your skill guys back, with the exception of Mayer. And you're adding the freshmen with Greathouse and James and Flores and Caleb Smith. And then so Caleb Smith freshman, Caleb Smith seniors coming in, right? So they've got a pretty good skill position situation next year. You have Blake Fisher coming back, you have Joel Alt coming back, you have Zeke Correll coming back, you have the emerging I can't think of his name, Billy Strouth. You have Billy Strouth. You have a lot of options. You have Andrew Kostofik at guard that you can put in, who played a lot last year, and it's feel like he can be ascending, right? So you have really good options on offense there. You have to find a Viper on defense, but you have a stable of linebackers who it's Jalen Sneed and Julian Tuihalamaka and Josh Burnham and Prince Colley and all these guys. You have a lot of options. You have Ben Morrison, you have Cam Hart coming back, you have Clarence Lewis, who's played a ton of football. So, Xavier Watts and Ramon Henderson at the very least. We'll see what happens with Brandon Joseph. He's not expected to come back to the team, but Jordan Botelho. I mean, there's a lot going good for Notre Dame right now. And anything 8-4, I was pretty down on the floor of this team, just going into the year. I would say 9-3. Next year, 9-3 is the floor. You cannot anything worse than that. It's a bad job. It's not a good job, right? All the things that kind of were against him this year are kind of flipped. So find a way, man. Find a way, and I think they will. Right? It's not like I'm talking like he did a bad job or something. He did it, or it's already happened. He hasn't. I expect a really good year for Notre Dame next year. I think there's a lot pointing to, getting there. Jason Warnock says, "What changes or adjustments would you make if you were Marcus Freeman after having a year of experience?" What I would do, and I put this on the post game yesterday. If I was him, I would get more involved with the defense. Whatever that means. And if Al Golden doesn't like that, and I don't know how he feels about it, obviously, I'm just speculating. If he doesn't like that, then that's tough beans. You can go find another thing to do, because Marcus Freeman, the whole point of bringing him in, 2021, when Brian Kelly did it, it's this guy is a riser in the coaching ranks. He is a brilliant defensive mind, right? Well, then let's go. Let's use it then. Because to me, there's not enough value added for Marcus Freeman as the CEO, right? There's not. He doesn't have that experience, right? He doesn't know. He doesn't know how to do that yet to its fullest extent, right? Maybe in 10 years, that's more of his role. But now you know too much about the game. You know too much about defense to take a back seat and let someone else do it. Get involved with the defense. Get involved with the linebackers. You don't have to be in charge of the whole operation, right? Because I don't think there's enough value added for him to have his hat in offense and be worried about that stuff. Focus on the defense. Make that your baby, right? Kirby Smart, defense, that's his thing. right? Nick Saban, defense, that's his thing. If you have a thing, then lean into that thing, right? Nick Saban is always on the DBs. He was a former DB, he was a DB coach, coaches them up all the time. And Alabama has some of the best DBs every single year. Marcus Freeman, do that with the linebackers, man. You are a linebacker coach. The reason you're at Notre Dame is because of that. So do it. Like, get more involved. That's what I would do personally. Just get more involved with the defense, and I think that would really help. How did Buckner's 3rd and long compare to Hartman's career numbers? I'd have to go look at Buckner and 3rd and long. What I would say is a couple of those picks came on 3rd down situations. And I know that Hartman is like top 5 nationally in like 3rd and 6 or more in terms of like NFL passer ratings, like 125 something, which is really good, right? 158 is perfect. So he's tough to beat in that situation. Amy Zvitek says, enjoyed seeing some of the young guys play. Looking forward to next year. Go Irish. Yep. Good point by Amy. And I think Jordan Botelho is not young per se, but he hasn't gotten the field a ton. He had a huge game yesterday. Jalen Sneed got a lot of got the most snaps he's ever gotten. Picked up a couple penalties, like very like young Jordan Botelho-esque game for Jalen Sneed. Junior Tulihalamaka, look, I thought he looked good at Viper. The receivers, right? Like Tobias Merriweather got 25 snaps, which is a good amount of snaps for him. And Jaden Thomas is a young guy, looked good. Mitchell Evans looked good, right, as a blocker and as a receiver. So you feel like he can step in and be a good player for Notre Dame in the absence of Michael Mayer next year. Obviously, Estime and Diggs are also young players. Tyler Buckner is a young player. Xavier Watts is young and experienced. He looked good. Ben Morrison is obviously Jaden Mickey played a good game, right? He had to fill in for Ben Morrison after he went out. Jaden Mickey made some plays and was, didn't give up anything in the passing game. So he played well, right? A lot to build on. Good comment by Amy there. ND for life. Let's talk early enrollees. Who are you most excited about? Well, 3 of the receivers are on campus. I'm curious to see what they can do. If anyone's just like kind of pops, right? And I think Jaden Greathouse is one, just because I think he's more developed as a player and as a receiver. So I think he's an interesting option. I think the corners are on campus to see if any of those guys can kind of pop like Mickey and Morrison did this year. Let me think here. Linemen, I don't see being a factor, at least on the offensive line. I think Jeremiah Love is an early enrollee. He's interesting too. Like, does he have a role? Can he come in and look like, hey man, we got to get this guy some touches somehow, some way. And then I think he's not an early enrollee freshman, but the Caleb Smith, the senior, what is he like? Right? How does he come into the room? 32 catches, I think 37 catches for 600 something yards. I mean, that's some good production, right? So that'll be interesting. Like, who else comes in the portal? I think that'll be interesting. I think the thing with this team, though, we just talked about it, is I don't think there's any early enrollee you need to come in. It's like that guy's got to be good. I don't think that's true. I think there's a lot of people that you're intrigued by, that we're intrigued by, but I don't think they need to, come in and it's like you're counting on them, right? So I think that's where I'm at with that. Evan Olson says Sneed has taken the torch from Botelho as guy I worry about after the whistle. Absolutely. I think he was just excited, right? Like, he's from South Carolina. I think he was just fired up to play in the game. But yeah, man, some tough penalties. Let's see. Game time baller. Happy for Irish. Good production from Tyler Buckner. That was not possible with Pine. My concern is the defense. What do we have going into next year, especially D-line and linebackers? So Notre Dame, just the first comment, Notre Dame did do some things offensively that is not on the table. Like the wrinkle that I put on Twitter where they kind of pulled the tight end and the wide receiver on a little like quarterback counter play on the read option or on the zone read. Like that, you're never doing that with Pine, right? It's not even a consideration, right? You're not doing that. You call a quarterback counter on third down on basically a check play. I think they saw something from the South Carolina defensive film. It's like, if they show us this, we're going to check to this, because they completely changed formation and what they were doing with the wide receivers. Ran quarterback counter, untouched up the middle for touchdown. You're just not doing that, right? Another kind of outside the 10-yard line run for Tyler Buckner, it's a touchdown. That's not happening right now. Obviously, Notre Dame can win multiple ways, right? And Drew Pine won multiple ways, right? So it's not to say he wouldn't have found a way to win this game. It's just like they won in ways that you would not have done with Drew Pine, right? So that's a good comment there. What do we have? My concern is the defense. What do we have going into next year? D-line and linebackers. First of all, I think the D-line is going to be supplemented in the portal, so there's that. I think, you got to get Howard Cross. You got to get Howard Cross outside of the nose guard. He's too small for that. You got to get Gabriel Rubio going. It looks like they might lose Aiden Ina in the portal, so you need to find someone else, like who's going to play in the middle there. What are you going to get from Jason Onye? Someone like that. Nana Osafo-Mensah's got to step up. I think Riley Mills has to step up. Is Justin Adamalola going to come back? Like, will they move him to big end? So I think it's interesting to see if Justin Adamalola moves to big end, because he played big end in this game. Although South Carolina is not a very good running team, so maybe that was game specific. So we have to see what happens there. Let's see, Aiden Gabira. Does anything happen with him? Tyson Ford. I think they're excited about Tyson Ford. I think they're excited about getting him going in terms of, activating him next year. I think that's the expectation. I know that the coaches are really excited about what he can do. And then there's the Patelho. Is he going to be the Viper? Is he going to be the guy at Viper? Josh Burnham, where's he at? Aiden Gabira, where's he at? What are they going to do with Junior Tulialamaka? Like, he was playing Viper in this game. He could also play Mike. You have, and going back, who I'm excited about is Drake Bowen. What can he do? I want to see what he does in the spring, because I think there's something there. I really do. I think there's something there with him. I think they have Bertrand back. I think they have Marist back. I think, especially for Marist, like I think Prince Colley and Jalen Sneed or whoever, like that needs to be real, right? That because that was not a great position for Notre Dame this year. Marist, I just do not think he had a great year, and that it's not one of those years where it's like, oh, it's his job. No, I don't think so. I think that's got to be an open competition. I think the competition at Viper or at Rover needs to be stout. Kaiser, I thought, was okay this year, but I didn't think that was, again, it's not one of those situations like, well, we have Kaiser, plug him in, right? I think those jobs are up for grabs. I think Bertrand's job is a little bit safer, but there's players who I think can challenge. So I think there's jobs. I think there's a lot of talent at linebacker, and there's a lot of bodies. And I just think there's too many good, talented players for the linebacker position to be poor next year. If it's poor next year, like it was kind of this year at times, then that's not a good job coaching, and they need to do better. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Okay, let me see. Kev's Code says, Happy New Year, everyone. I agree that this year was useful, especially in terms of what Coach Freeman identity has turned out to be. Agree. Rajon says, next step for Freeman is beating the teams you're supposed to. He's already proven he can beat good teams. And look, what we're really talking about there is consistency, getting your team to consistently perform, right? And look, that's understandable, right? Like, understandable that a first-year head coach would struggle with the consistency. Craig D says TB12 is inexperienced and was rusty. Tons of upside. The future is bright. There is upside. Rusty for sure. Again, out of clean pockets. Got to be better. Marco Park says Marcus Freeman should drive straight and get Justin Scott. I don't know that Justin Scott is wanting to go to Notre Dame. He lives very close to Notre Dame. Didn't go in any games. Red flaggy. So, but that's just my opinion, right? I'll let Matt and Christian kind of take the lead on that sort of stuff. But it just, in my opinion, if you live close to Notre Dame and you're not going to games, there's something to be said for that. The one thing Tyler Buckner has over Hartman is his great running ability, right? I agree. But that's designed running ability, right? I think as an improviser, Hartman might be better, because for some reason, Tyler Buckner, that's just not his game. Tyler Buckner does not scramble to run. He scrambles to throw. He did it multiple times. There were a couple times in this game where it's like, hey, you have a lane, like take it. But he's scrambling to find a time to pass, right? And so that's his mindset, and that's fine, right? That's who he is. But I think as an improviser, Hartman might be better there. And I think Buckner needs to be better there. Michael Parks, Hartman was the best in the country on third down passing. I'm going to take your word for it. On that. Joe Bro says, what about Tyson Ford? I think I mentioned him. So that probably came before I mentioned him. That's a good question. What Chris Doherty says, what grade would you give Reese this season, taking all things into account, development, play calling, recruiting, game adjustment, etc.? I give him a solid B. I think that's right, Chris. I think it's in the B range. I could go down to, I wouldn't go to B plus. I would go to B to B minus. I feel like Buckner wasn't ready to go early, right? And I don't mean he has to beat Ohio State, but I just didn't think he played that great in that game. He played hard, right? Look, the kid's a hard player. It's not like he's not playing. He's a dog or anything. I mean, he plays his butt off. I'll say that for Buckner. He plays his butt off. I thought the Marshall game was not good from him, from the offense in general. I didn't think that was very good. There's just a lot of times where I don't think the players are ready to execute the ideas that Tommy Rees has, right? And that's why I've said a couple of times before, like there's his development piece, and then there's the play calling piece. I think the play calling is much better than the development. And I think if the development would catch up to the play calling, that's when I think you would really see this offense hum. Because a lot of the bad plays they're bad because they're not ready to execute them. So you look at them and you say, well, that's a terrible play call, right? Well, I think if they were executed better, then, like a lot of the inside run stuff, right? Where it's like, oh, why are you running into these loaded boxes? Well, it's like because Drew Pine, I'm thinking of Drew Pine, but it's like Drew Pine's not ready to pull the ball and throw the RPO, right? Like he's not there in his development. It's like, well, why can't we do that? So that's kind of where I see it. I think the development affects the play calling a good amount with Reese. But look, I mean, he does some good stuff, right? Like that's why I put a lot of things on Twitter. Like he does some really good stuff. I'll put it up, but the pass to Tyree on the third down, they slip him out, and they ends up being a screen, and it looks like it's going to be offensive interference, but he catches the ball high line of scrimmage, so you can block downfield. It's like a really good play call, right? And a really situational play call. They really need it, and he did. So I think his offense is good. I just think he needs to do a better job of coaching it so that they understand, right? That's just kind of how I see it. Here's a comment. Coach Hump says, I think the running back room is falsely perceived as deep. If Tyree comes back next year, we could lose 3 running backs after next season, leaving Price, Payne, and Love unknowns and incoming freshmen. We could lose 3 running backs. So I would be stunned if all 3 of Tyree, Estime, and Diggs left after next year, like stunned, right? Because those guys would just be juniors. And it's like they're good. They're good, but I don't think it's like I'm ready to go to the NFL, Especially, and the other part too is like their bodies they don't get a ton of work, right? Like any one player. So they shouldn't, the wear and tear should not be there for any of those guys. And I think, I mean, it's true that Price is unknown, right? And Jabron Payne and Jeremiah Love are unknowns. I get that piece, but I think at the very least, I don't know what Tyree's going to do, but at the very least, you have Estime and Diggs, who you know can play. And then you have Ja'Jarian Price, who everyone's excited about. Obviously, the Achilles is a tough thing. But then you also have Jabron Payne, and then you have Jeremiah Love coming in. Like I kind of see where you're getting there. Like you're like an injury or two away from being like, this is not good, right? Kind of like tight end a little bit, at least what you would have perceived it. But Notre Dame got through it with tight end, and I think they would with running back too. I think they would. I think they're okay. I think where, in my opinion, the misperception is that the quality. Like, I don't know that Estime and Diggs are like grade A running backs. Like, I think those guys are like B pluses right now. And there's another step that they can take. Now, Grant, what I do think is that Sam Hartman and the way that he pushes the ball down the field and he's got to open up the secondary, I think that will really spring Estime and Diggs to where it's like they don't have a safety right there every time they break through the line. Like that is what I think will really grow their games, is to play an offense where safeties aren't sitting at 10 yards and thundering to run every time. That's what I think they need. When you get that, and to an extent, Tyree needs that as well, if he hangs around. And I have no reason to believe he won't, but I could understand because the touches aren't really there. But we'll see. But so I think that's where it's like, I think there are a lot of running back rooms with a lot of good running backs. We love our guys, right, as fans, and so we're very protective of them. But I think objectively, I think there is a step more. I mean, look at the play that Logan Diggs made, right, where it's a 39-yard touchdown. Like, I think that's opened up by the fact that teams have to worry about Buckner, the runner. And we didn't see it all year, and then we see it in this game, right? So that's a situation where I think those guys' games were enhanced by the people around them, right? So I think the misperception is those guys, I think, are not as far along in their development as I think we want them to be. But, I mean, great runners play their butts off, and they get the most out of everything. So that's good. Let's see. SteeCat99 says play calling has been A- in my opinion, especially considering what options he had in the middle of the season. Okay, I'll take it. I someone could talk me into that or show me evidence of that. I don't think it's been that good, but I don't have like a huge disagreement with you. I can see how someone could get there. So, that many was with Pine's accomplishment from Craig D. Yeah, I agree. They did a good job. Rajon asked, do you still think we have a problem with wide receiver development? I do not. No. I think between Colsey and Thomas, and I think what Tobias Merriweather showed, I think what Braden Lindsey showed this year, the only thing is Styles. He's the only confounding variable there. That doesn't make a ton of sense. But I think when the whole group kind of ascends and Styles is the one, maybe he was going through something, I don't know. I'm just saying if it's one guy and not the group, then I think, I think the trend is good. So I don't think development's a problem. Bobby S. with an interesting comment. Greg, no chance Hartman easily wins this job. If he wins it at all, I think that's what you're saying. You're overrating him big time. System quarterback Buckner is more talented. Okay. I mean, I don't know. Threw 110 touchdowns. I mean, he's the best quarterback on third down. Like, I don't know what that means, system quarterback. I don't know what that means. I mean, does Notre Dame not run zone read? Right? I mean, 67% of his passes are straight drops. I mean, is that a system? Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not like they're running. It's not like they're running the mesh on every play. 67% of the time, they're just doing straight drop back. I don't know, that translates to me. So, I mean, look at maybe. I mean, your opinion is your opinion. That's fine, right? If there's no chance, if you think there's no chance he easily wins it, I think he does. But that's fine, right? I don't care. It doesn't really matter to me. Bobby S says Hartman's arm is not that strong. It doesn't really matter to me how strong someone's arm is. Does the ball get there? The ball seems to get there just fine. The ball seems to get there just fine. Hartman had a game where he threw 2 pick sixes. Yeah, he did. He absolutely did. Okay, Bobby, I got it. Slow mesh, I get it. Again, 67% of the time, it's not that. So, I don't want to. We could talk about Hartman in another pod because it's like I don't want to get into the numbers. I've talked about other times. It's like he completed 60% of his throws because he pushes the ball downfield a ton, right? So I mean, we want quarterbacks to take chances. That's going to. The reason you throw 110 touchdowns is because you're pushing the ball down the field a lot, like 22% of the time. And like he completed more 20+ yard passes this year than Drew Pine attempted. So I mean, that's what's there. I mean, we'll see, right? My opinion is my opinion. I think we don't have to argue about it. Like he's going to come in. I think he'll win the job easy. If he doesn't, then great. Then Tyler Buckner, good for him, man. I'll cheer for him. There's no problem with that. I'll do it. I mean, I don't want to. I just think. I just think he's gonna do it. I just think he's the better quarterback and he'll win the job, right? Out of a clean pocket, right? I mean, now I have to go look at this. Oh man, you guys are killing me. I have to find this now. All right, ACC. So in this game, Tyler Buckner, 12 of 22, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions out of a clean pocket. Now I have to find it. Offense. Oops. Passing, pressure, and depth. Kept clean. 68% passer. 30 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 93.7 PFF grade, 2,986 yards. 118 NFL passer rating, which is very good. I mean, he's going to have clean pockets in Notre Dame. He killed it. I don't know what to say. TB's performance seemed to provide a good transition to Hartman. Coaches can say, good job, TB, but the mistakes you show that you need another year and then you are ready. I mean, I don't know what the coaches like. I don't think that they need to tell him that. Like, I just think it's kind of self-evident, right? Like you're going to get graded in film, right? Like there were plays missed in this game. It's not like there weren't. So it's like that. It's self-evident, right? That's why Drew Pine didn't win the job when they played Cincinnati, right? Everyone loved how they played. You played, it sparked the team. You go into film, it's like, hey, you missed a lot of stuff. Can't do it, right? That's kind of how that goes. Fred Laskowski says, hi, Greg. Enjoy your show from Phoenix. Subway alum from South Bend. Keep it up. Thanks, man. Thanks, Fred. I appreciate you. David Jones with a disagreement. Not a valid assessment of Diggs' touchdown run. Yes, the SC defense had to be concerned with Tyler Buckner as a runner, but once Diggs got to the second level, Tyler Buckner was no longer an issue, and Diggs still outran SEC DBs. No. What I'm saying is you get to that second level, and the safeties and corner are out of position because you're worrying about what Tyler Buckner can do. Right. It's the same thing with Brandon Wimbush in 2017, right? You have all these big runs by Josh Adams because safeties have to be watching the quarterback. That's what I'm talking about, is the quarterback can affect how the safeties and DBs play in the back because they have responsibility now that they don't have when Drew Pine is the quarterback. That's what I'm talking about. It's a great run by Diggs. I'm just saying, like, you give them space like that, and that's when they hit the explosives. Like, to me, it's no coincidence that Logan Diggs they hit a bunch of explosive plays with Tyler Buckner as the quarterback, right? That's not a coincidence to me. So that's what I'm talking about. It's not downgrading Diggs or anything. It's just I'm pointing out how it can affect the game. Troll Sniper, the Hartman had 38 touchdowns and 12 picks on 63% and 3,700 yards with way less talent than he'd have at Notre Dame. No idea why people feel the need to downplay what he's done. There is some of that. I don't want to say that's what others are doing in the chat. I don't want to say they're downplaying it. I mean, look, their assessment is their assessment. I think that's fair. I do agree with Troll Sniper that there has been a lot of that. Like, for some reason, it's like, I don't know. I feel like people want Bryce Young out of the portal. That's not what's happening. I don't. It's a weird thing. Like, clearly, this is a high end take for Notre Dame and coup, if you will, and it's just kind of a no-brainer. It is a little weird to me, but I don't know. People can feel how they feel. I don't have a big problem with it. I don't care. So ER 520. Why is Hartman's NFL draft grade so low? It concerns me that people in the NFL don't see higher upside with him. Maybe they don't see higher upside because he hasn't played in a pro style offense. Like, it's just not like, it's not a huge concern of mine, right? Like, a lot of quarterbacks are really good in college and not great in the pros. It just doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. And not just that, but like, what's available is what's available, right? Like, what's Tyler Buckner's draft grade? You know, that's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't matter what his draft grade is. It's up against the Notre Dame quarterbacks. Like, I don't think Tyler Buckner's draft grade is going to be all, the bee's knees or anything like that. So that's kind of how I look at it. That's kind of how I see it. Oh, that's okay. Fair point. The reason I care is because he will be playing an NFL system at Notre Dame, but he hasn't played in that. It's not that he can't. It's just that the Wake Forest offense, and I think Sam Hartman, should he come to Notre Dame, cares about that too, because he's coming to play in that offense. Like, that's the point for him. It's probably the point, right? I mean, Sam Hartman, I think, agrees with Dan Orlovsky that Tommy Rees can develop a quarterback. So we'll see. I mean, that's fair. You care he's playing in an NFL system at Notre Dame. Fair point. No problem. All right. I think we can end it there, but I do want to end with something. So this is the first year that I was with Iowa Sports Daily, doing shows, doing that whole thing. And the morning after recap was something that I just felt like I thought people would like it, right? I thought people would have a good time. The morning after, every morning after a game, I always wake up wanting to talk about the game, especially having thought about it all night. And I just really, I didn't know how it would go. I didn't know if people would be into it, if people would enjoy it. I didn't know if it would be me and like 5 other people talking about the game after. And if that was the case, that was fine. And I did it super early in the morning for me, 6:30 in the morning, 9:30. It worked with the schedule and with the kids and everything. I don't want to take too much time away from the family and all those other things. And every week it was like the best time. Even the disagreement stuff, like, it's totally fine because it's just like, that's talking, right? Like, I talk to my friends like this. We disagree about things all the time, but it was just like, I didn't know if people would love the show. And I've gotten so many good comments and so many people like, Coach Humph here. Happy New Year's, Greg. Your insights very much appreciated. Arrow 520, like, thanks, Greg. Enjoyed the show. Like, so many comments here. And I've gotten so many comments throughout the year about, the show and things like that. Thousands of views. Like, I'll go back and look at it, and just in terms of, and just like how many views this show got. But I just really appreciate everyone who has tuned into this show, everyone who has watched the show, went through the year with me, going through it, and like talking it out, and basically just hanging out. Like it's a Sunday morning hang. Like Rajon says, Greg Flamel with my coffee is a good Sunday morning. Like that's what I wanted. Like just to hang, right? Get in the comments and just talk about it, right? And talk about the game and talk about, what we saw, right? And what we feel about it, right? And so I just really appreciate everyone who tuned in. Thank you so much, right? Happy New Year. We'll keep it going next year. We'll keep it going. And so that's what I wanted to say. Just thank you to everybody who watched this show. I really appreciate it throughout the year. It meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me because it was just something that I came up with. Didn't know how it would work. Never done it before. So I really appreciate everybody. And so with that, Happy New Year, right? 2023 coming. Enjoy the games today. Enjoy the football today. A lot easier to enjoy it after a great Notre Dame victory. It was a lot of fun. It's college football, man. That's why we love college football, is because a game like that. That was a college football game. And it was a good time. College football for college football's sake. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. You're going to want to stay with us all year. We've got portal news coming up. Recruiting is still 2024 is getting up. Winter conditioning right in the spring. You're going to want to hang with us, right? We're going to keep doing shows. We're going to keep putting out the content. So once again, thank you everyone for tuning in. Check out irishsportsdaily.com for all the information on portal things. And Happy New Year, guys. And we will talk to you very, very soon.